and survives things like pre-work overdose, so the rest of us don't have to. He's also done a comedy viewer series like Isolation Diary, Grandpa Paddy Chook Receipts, recipes. Somehow, in between all of that chaos, he has built a whole career out of making people laugh at the most unhinged things corners. So, I would want us to welcome him today to Creators Corner. Can we please, with a round of applause, many speakers everywhere there, can we welcome our guest for today? Come on, let's have it. Welcome, sir. Can we welcome Astor George, our grandpa D for today? Welcome, sir. So good to have you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that warm welcome. In case you haven't got that, I'm shy and I'm trying my best not to blush. So I'm
Okay.
feeling terribly because I can see my face here and it's red already. Yeah. Um.
How you feeling?
Yeah. I'm feeling good.
Wow.
I'm feeling good. I'm honored that I was asked to do this.
Thank you so much for
Yeah.
coming. We're really grateful. Good to have you. Good to have you. Tell us wonderful stories at Zikoko. And a pleasure to be here to learn from you. Come on, guys, one more time. Can we just a round of applause? Let's keep the stickers, the writings, everything coming. Thank you so much. Energy, I love it. This is what you get when you come to Creators Corner. We love our speakers and we always celebrate them. So over to you, sir.
Okay. If you don't mind, can I like turn off my camera? Do I have to leave it on?
Oh, you have to leave it on so that we can see your face and connect more. If that's okay, please.
Oh no, no. It's just like
It's a shy. No, don't worry. It's
yeah.
only it's we and you. Yeah, no, it's we're not going anywhere outside the room. I promise. Because this is recorded, so we can watch later on, YouTube and just get feel of the class. Even people that were not here today. So we really need you to be out here for us. Thank you so much, sir. We please. We're begging.
Okay. Okay. I will do my best and try not to explain. Uh, yeah. So the topic of the presentation I'm giving today is uh, the three pillars of content: story, structure, and polish. Uh, I I want to point out that like I want to give a small backstory into how I like ended up doing what I do for work. I kind of just fell into this. I know it might look like something that I intentionally went into, but it was literally something someone just saw me do one day and said, you are really good at this. It would be great if you work at Coco. This was 2015. 2016 actually, when I had just finished NYSC, and I was like, yeah, I really Coco stuff. It'd be nice if I worked there. And 6 months later, after we had left NYSC, they sent me a link and I applied to work there the very first time around because I've worked there. This is my third time working there. And that's how I fell into content, ladies and gentlemen. It turns out it's just something that I just kind of like knew how to do. So over time, I told myself that like I don't know how to teach it, but in that sense, in the spirit of trying new things, I've challenged myself to think more about it and how I do what I do, so that I can like pass knowledge to others without sounding like an old person. But yeah, so if my eyes wander off from the camera a little bit, I'm not like falling asleep. I'm just like looking at the notes I made to help with this.
We totally
Yeah.
understand. So it's fine. When we're here for you, have it your way.
Okay. So the title of this presentation is Three Pillars of Content: Story, Structure, and Polish. Um, when people ask why one piece of content like succeeds and like others don't do well and flop, people usually point to different things like the algorithm, or like you don't have a good enough camera, or like your editing software is trash, or you're just like lucky. But the truth is that most of those, and I mean, some of the times they're right, not all of the time, but most of the time, I think it's just clarity. Like above all else, when you're trying to pass along a message, clarity is the most important thing. Like if people don't understand you, they can't connect. If people don't understand you, they can't remember you. If people don't understand you, they can't tell other people about you. So like that's like word of mouth is just like completely gone. Um, if you're funny, they won't laugh at your joke because they don't get the setup. It's just you kind of get my point. But yeah, it's kind of like how you spend a lot of time watching a movie. For example, Christopher Nolan's Tenet, and then you just realize halfway into the movie that you have no idea what is going on, and you can't tell anybody else about this movie because what really did you just watch? That's a clarity problem. And if you haven't picked up on it, I hate Christopher Nolan, but that's another story for another day. Uh, but yeah, sorry. Yeah, that movie was just very confusing. I don't know what that was about till this day. Uh, the truth is, clarity is super important. It's what it lets creativity shine. It's the it's the be all of everything I make. Yeah. So if clarity is the goal, which it is, and like I've established, how do we create it? This is where the three pillars that I mentioned earlier come in: story, structure, and polish. So let's start with story. Um, when people hear the word story, they usually think of like, I'm so sorry, I have a cold, you guys. That's why I keep sniffing. Um, thanks. Yeah, when most people hear stories, they usually think of films and novels and TV shows, but the truth is that like it's much more broader than that. Like if you're pitching an idea to your boss, or you're making a pitch deck, or you're like pitching a brand, or you're creating a marketing campaign, you are telling a story. Like granted, it's different formats, but like it's pretty much the same thing. You're taking someone from what they know now to what you want them to know, believe, or feel by the end. And that's storytelling. Uh, but before you launch into telling a story, you have to figure out if it's worth saying, because that's a huge problem on the internet these days. A lot of people just like want to talk and they think they have something to say while they really don't. And then they just launch into it and say a lot of nonsense because the internet has given everybody a platform, which is supposed to be good, but I just think it's awful. But again, our story for another day. But yeah, um, it's important to figure out if the story you want to tell is worth saying at all because no amount of editing can save an idea that wasn't worth hearing in the first place. You'll just be wasting your time. Um, it's a thing that a lot of content creators do. You see them asking stuff like, "Oh, what should I post today?" or "What's trending?" and "How can I go viral?" And it's not like those are bad questions. It's just that you have to start off with having something to say and figuring out if it's worth hearing or worth telling in the first place. Uh, you also have to figure out if an idea is worth someone else's time. Because again, it's like how someone tells you something, and at the end of it, in your mind, you're just like, or you somebody invites you for a meeting, and at the end of the 1 hour meeting, you're like, this 1 hour meeting could have been like a two-line email. That's that's a very similar problem to this. Yeah. So throughout this entire presentation, I'll be using one of my projects as a case study. It's called So You Don't Have to. Um, Basically, it used to be a written series where I cover pieces of pop culture that other people don't want to, and I recap them in funny ways. And recently, I made it into a video series, which has become like equally popular. So I'll be using that as my case study as I go on. Yeah. So there are four ways to figure out if your story is worth telling. The first way is to find the core value. Every piece of content has every piece of content has a core value. Like it makes a promise. The promise could be anything. It could be entertainment. It could be education. It could be uh, inspiration. It could be anything like that. The majority of my work, for example, is entertainment. I pretty much just like to entertain because that's my thing. Uh, so when I set out to make a piece of content, that's the promise I'm making. That if you consume my content, you will be entertained, and people are entertained most of the time because I'm good at what I do. Humble brag. Uh, yeah. Uh, so it's basically like a trade-off. If the audience gives you their attention, what are they getting in return? If they give you 5 minutes of their life to watch a video that you've made, what do they leave like what do they leave that exchange with? Do they go off thinking that they wasted their time? Or do they go off and tell other people, oh my god, I discovered this like great creator and they make like really cool stuff? Um so yeah, that's figuring out the core value of a piece of content you want to make. Another way to do this is to know your audience. It's why a lot of social media platforms have created like backend analytics so that you can figure out what your audience reacts well to and what they don't react to at all. That way you can use the numbers to figure out what they like, make more of it, or figure out what they already know, figure out what they don't know, and then give them what they don't know, and then like make changes based on the numbers. Um, yeah, a lot of creators go out of their way to create stuff that they care about, and that's fine. But sometimes you have to figure out what the audience also wants. Um, I like to strike a balance because, like, hey, stuff is great when it's 50-50. So, yeah. Um, Another key part of this is understanding before you interpret. Say the content that you want to put out isn't something that you came up with. It's not your original idea. It's something you stumbled on, but you want to make commentary on it. It's important that you understand it properly before you interpret it. Um, a lot of people these days just want to give their opinions, and because they want to hack virality and join conversations when they're happening, they just go off and just yarn whatever it is that comes to their minds about situations they don't understand at all, which explains all of Twitter. Um, so it's best to not rush to opinions. It's best to fully understand a thing that you want to talk about before you interpret it. Because if you go off here, then people will clock you that you don't understand what you're talking about. Yeah. So now we're moving on to structure. Um, if story is figuring out what to say, structure is figuring out how to say it. Basically, it's just figuring out how to put the story together so that the audience receives it in the best way possible. Yeah. Um, this I know we're all looking at this as a serious, very, very serious thing. But the truth is, lacking the ability to properly structure content is the problem that happens in like everyday conversations and like people just in their friends. I have a friend who, whenever he would tell a story, he would constantly like branch off on tangents. Like he knows the story to tell. He knows an important story to tell, an interesting story to tell. And once he starts it, he starts branching off in different tangents. The second he makes a reference to something, he just goes off in that direction and misses the main like narrative. And if you don't like call him back to focus, he just keeps going. Um, so yeah, knowing how to structure content so that the audience takes it properly is super important. It's basically figuring out the best way to communicate something. Yeah, figuring out the best way to communicate something. Um, Also, if you have like any questions or anything, just feel free to interrupt whenever because I can't see my screen as it is. But yeah, so basically, it's just like figuring out what comes next, what needs to be removed. That is important. Like a lot of people, when figuring out structure, they think it's best to just like add stuff and fluff. But no, like a huge part of like structuring stuff is removing things and making it easier for just reducing the cognitive load, reducing the cognitive work that the audience has to do when they read your work. Yeah. Um, it's the same way that I approach uh so you don't have to, for example. A lot of people think that so you don't have to is something that I just do on the fly. But the truth is that it's scripted. I just script it to make it sound like I'm yapping at the camera and then use like editing cuts in between. Uh, I write the script first. I watch the movie first, and then I write the plots. I watch the movie first, and then I write the entire plot of the movie. And then when I'm done, I start like structuring the plot. I structure it down to the movie's main narrative because again, I like to keep my videos under 3 minutes because Instagram has a thing where if your video is under that 3 minutes, they don't show it to new audiences. And I want new audiences to see my videos. So I try to keep it under 3 minutes. That way I cut it down to the main narrative and I cut off any like side plots that isn't important to the main narrative. Like I look at the plot, like movies have like A plots and B plots and C plots and stuff like that. And I look at the plot and I'm like, if I don't talk about this this plot line while telling the story? Does the audience still understand like the main points? If the answer is yes, then I take it off. And that's like a huge part of structure. It's just like taking stuff out, figuring out what needs attention and what needs to go. Yeah. Um, yeah, I mentioned this earlier. Like, it's something I like to call the prime thread, but like pretty much every story has like a main narrative. The key is to find that and just focus on it. Because sometimes if you branch off into like the other plot points, like the audience just gets confused if there are too many, or if you don't serve the main narrative at all. And that's a huge problem with like old Nollywood or sometimes new Nollywood, but that's another story for another day. But yeah, um, sorry.
Yeah, it's fine.
So the key, yeah, the key takeaway from here is to not like the key takeaway from here is to focus on what to remove, actually, not what to include, because chances are you already have too much stuff. Like more than half of the time, you already have too much stuff. So restructuring has a lot to do with taking stuff out, having restraints, I'm not just putting everything in there. So yeah, um,
So, guys, let's start writing our questions down as he's talking before Mr. Jude comes back up. So, over to you, sir.
okay, I'm back now. Yeah. So whenever like I pointed out clearly, like throughout this whole thing, like clarity is the name of the game. If you don't focus on like being clear enough to your audience, and I feel like you failed in passing along the message. So whenever I'm creating content, this is part of like my structure process, by the way. Whenever I'm creating content, be it like if it's written or video or anything, I ask myself these four questions. Can this be simpler? Can this be shorter? Can this be clearer? Or can it be like removed entirely? And the whole idea, like I think I mentioned already, is to just like make it as easy as possible for the audience to consume. I get that people are like, oh, there's like the older uprising has become a thing and people want to read like things that are too easy. But I feel like that's different from this. There will always be times when you encounter things that are difficult to read and you have to read them for like the sake of the development of your brain. But I don't think that that's something that applies to every piece of content you come across. There are some things that are just pointlessly difficult and I just like refuse to engage. Yeah. Um, it's a thing that I do on when I'm writing, so you don't have to. I know it's because there are a lot of jokes in it. It sounds like I'm focusing on being funny, but no, I'm focusing on clarity. Like my main purpose of the show, apart from entertaining people, is to make people feel that when they watch the movie, make them feel like when they watch the video, is to make them feel like they've seen the movie. So I focus on clarity. I make sure that like when I start at the beginning and I get to the end, the audience has a clear picture of at least the main narrative, which again falls under clarity. Like clarity comes first, humor comes second, and pretty much anything else. Yeah. Basically, you don't want. I don't know if it has ever happened to anybody here where you're reading a book and you have to read like a couple of sentences more than once because the sentence is just kind of off or hard to read. Yeah, that's the kind of thing you want to avoid when you're structuring your content. Like you don't want anybody to be like because it breaks the immersion, and then the next thing you know, they can just like mentally check out and go do something else. Yeah. So the main takeaway from this is that like when you communicate clearly, you're respecting your audience's time, attention, and mental effort. And if you communicate poorly, you're asking them to do. If you communicate poorly, you're asking them to do work that you should have done before hitting publish, and that would just piss people off. So yeah. Um, Another thing to consider when structuring is it's not always important to put stuff in chronological order. It's best to put it in a way that the audience understands. Like it's not always best to put it in a way that it happens. For example, some movies like to play like a lot played fast and loose with their timelines. Uh, Christopher Nolan again, the usual suspect, has a movie from 2002 called Memento, where the timeline is just all over the place because the main character has like memory problems. And I hated that movie because it was super hard to understand. But if I was to tell somebody else about it, I would put it in chronological order so that it's easier for them to understand. The point I'm trying to make is that, like, when you encounter, if you're trying to tell a story, or if you're trying to relate a story that somebody else has told in a confusing way, rearrange it in such a way that the person you're telling understands it immediately. So it doesn't matter how the like sequence of events played along. How you should relate is how it's easiest to understand. Yeah. You don't have to tell it as it happened. Yeah, you don't have to tell it as it happened. You just have to tell it how you just have to sorry, my brain is skipping. You don't have to tell it as it happened. You have to tell it in a way that is easy to understand. Yeah. I think I mentioned this already. When editing isn't just about like making stuff shorter, it's about making things easier to understand. Um, so when people hear the word editing, they think about like grammar and correcting spellings and removing words. But the truth is that it's much bigger than that. It's removing friction. It's like thinking, how can I make this easier for my audience? Like, how can I make this sentence easier to understand? How can I make this sentence flow better? How can I make this like transition harder and stuff like that? Yeah. Basically, introducing cognitive ease. You don't want your readers to do too much work because if they do, they will mentally check out, and you don't want that. Yeah. And like I said earlier, whenever you're editing, it's best to ask yourself these questions. Can this sentence be simpler? Can it be shorter? Can it come earlier? Um, can it be removed completely? It's best to remember four of them. Yeah. So it also happens to me when I'm writing, so you don't have to, because I have a time limit, which is 3 minutes. By the time I'm done filming and I have footage of like 5 minutes, I have to figure out what can stay and what needs to go. Yeah, I have to figure out like what can go and still have me maintain the regular narrative in a way that the audience understands. So it's something that you come across regardless of what you're doing. So just like it's good to pay attention to it. Yeah. Um, a good part of structure is to also like reward readers with attention and end with intent. Um, a way I like to reward attention while doing so you don't have to is I have recurring jokes that I can sprinkle throughout and I can make a callback to, and then they remember, oh, he said this earlier in the video. He's calling back to like an earlier reference. That way, I've rewarded their attention. And also, speaking of rewarding attention, I need people to understand that like when you hook someone's attention in with your story, just because you have it that one time doesn't mean you get to keep it. You have to keep rewarding it. You have to keep rewarding their attention so that they stay with you. It's I know it's like shaking keys in front of a baby, but like it's what the internet has turned us all into. Yeah, that's what they mean by rewarding their attention, just giving them more reasons to say what's happening next, what's happening in the next second, what's happening in the next statement, and stuff like that. And also, when it comes to ending with intent, you just don't. A lot of storytellers just end things in a very flat way. Um, there was a series I wrote for Zikoko a long time ago called Nigerian Horror Story. It was an anthology comedy horror series about Nigerian cryptids, like uh the Bush Baby and Madame Koi Koi and stuff like that. And I would end every story in the most jarring way ever, like smack in the middle of a conversation, or just when the protagonist has some kind of grand realization that solves the entire problem, or right when the monster attacks. That's like ending with intent. I once wrote a story about. I once wrote a story called "The Secret Life of Butchers." It's about a guy that used to work as a butcher at these places where they sell goats. He's dying and he has Alzheimer's, so he's confessing to this girl who's interviewing him, and he talks about how people, top dogs in the government used to hire him to like butcher people for them whenever they would want to do money rituals and stuff. And after the entire story, the girl asks him, "Is there anything else you want to tell me?" And he says, "I wish we had time to talk about the Suya industry." And I just ended it there because it kind of like implies that there is a lot. Like when you hear that last line, you just know that like holy shit, this is fucked up. But then nothing comes next. That's ending with intent. That's ending memorably in the way that you just when someone finishes reading it, they go, "Oh wow, yeah." It's just another way of staying in the person's mind, which is the entire point of my content these days. Um, sorry. Um, so now we come down to the third point, which is polish. Um, if a story is figuring out what to say, and structure is figuring out how to say it, polish is is the final layer of when everything is done. It's basically making your content look and sound the best that it possibly can. When people hear polish, they usually think about adding stuff, but no, that's not the case. Like I said earlier, it's really about like removing because again, chances are you already have much more stuff than you need. Um, that's why polish comes last because you already have everything that you need on your paper or wherever, so you have to start removing stuff. I'm so sorry, you guys.
It's
Um,
fine. I'm right here. It's to
yeah.
be okay.
Um, So polish doesn't make bad content good. It makes good content unforgettable. If your content or your idea is bad in the first place, polish isn't going to be able to do anything. If you make a video that has like the coolest editing on the planet and the most amazing soundtrack and just like the prettiest backdrop, but like your story is kind of pointless and doesn't need to be told, no amount of polishing is going to help it. An example I like to give of this is when he gave Kylie Jenner her own TV show as a spin-off from Keeping Up with the Kardashians. And you would think that it would be interesting, but it wasn't because Kylie isn't like a bubbly personality. So they were using like Snapchat style editing to make up for the lack of content. And every time I saw it, I was like, I see what you guys are doing. And I was right because the show didn't go past one season. So yeah, polishing is polishing isn't going to help you when there's no story to be told or when your story is just bad. Yeah. Um, there are different ways of polishing. There are different ways of making your stuff sound good. The first step is like writing like a human. A lot of people seem to think that sounding smart and using the biggest like grammar in the world and sounding like you're a scientist are somehow found their way to like a book festival is the way to go. But the truth is that when you talk like that or when you write like that, you're not passing along knowledge. You just want to sound smart. You're talking at people. You're not like engaging with them. I don't know if that makes sense. So my entire career, I've written in a conversational tone. I write like I'm gisting with people. It's why if you look at the comments of my show, you don't have to. It's like people usually say that I would probably like know how to gossip because that's the way I frame it. I frame it as like I'm giving you the hottest gist on the planet, like it's just you. And I feel like that's the best way to write, like conversational writing. It's not dumbing things down, like a lot of people believe. It's just like it's reducing distance between the creator and the audience. Um, you don't have to sound impressive. You don't have to sound like super fancy. You just have to be clear. It all comes down to clarity at the end of the day. Yeah. Another thing is like enhancing. If you have a style, like you have a writing style, like most people do, it shouldn't like it shouldn't interfere with what you're saying. It should enhance. Um, as someone who does mostly comedic writing, I love a good joke. I love a good pun. I love a good like metaphor. But the truth is that I don't let it interfere with the message that I'm trying to come across. If I'm telling you a story, like you understanding the story comes first. When I make sure that I've gotten a narrative right and I start looking for places to add jokes and to see if they work. And if they don't work, I take it out because again, a good joke is nice, and I like making people laugh, but like not at the expense of the story being told. Yeah, a lot of people fall in love with the idea of like sounding clever or just making punchline and punchline of jokes, and it's exhausting. Yeah, basically, like a way to look at it is like your style, your writing style is seasoning to the food that is the message that you're trying to pass across. Yeah, if people remember your writing style but not your message, then it means your style was too loud. As the people seem to think that's a compliment, but it really isn't. But yeah, I don't want to call any names. Uh, yeah. Another way to polish is to choose better words. Um, Certain words evoke certain images, and as as writers, you want to be specific about what you want your readers to imagine when they read you or when they consume your content. And that's why it's important to use like certain words. I'm going to use like a very insane example, and I apologize in advance. But a recent episode of Say You Don't Have to I did was for the Nollywood movie Sharon Stone. And I was trying to pass along the idea that like she is a player, she's playing many men. And I could have just said, oh, Sharon is a player and she's playing many men. But I said Sharon is the ultimate player. She is juggling more balls than a gay clown at a glory hole. It's a very graphic joke. Um, but it works and it gets it across. Like, I want you to understand, like, Sharon is juggling this man viciously and she doesn't give a damn. And when people read that, they're like, okay, I get what he's saying, but also, oh my God. And sometimes you want people to feel that. You want people to feel a particular emotion. So you use certain words. And I apologize for that example. It was just a joke, but like, yeah, I consider taking that out, but that was the best example I could think of. Uh, you also, when you're writing, you also have to create a rhythm. There is a thing now that AI has become a thing. People keep spotting AI writing because there's this unnatural, like stilted way that it sounds. Um, sometimes the writing doesn't have rhythm. When you're talking to someone in real life, you notice that they have different inflections. Their sentences have different lengths. Not every sentence starts the same. Not every sentence ends the same. But a lot of the times with AI, that's a thing. It's why when you're reading it, you're just like, a human didn't write this, or a human who is bad at writing wrote this. So when you're writing, there's a thing you have to pay attention. So you have to make sure there is variety in the way you structure your sentences. Have a short sentence here, a long sentence here, throw a comma there, a full stop there, like a question here. Like it doesn't. Not every sentence has to start the same. All the sentences don't have to be the same length. They don't have to just like. I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense. Just it's good to switch it up. Yeah, so that it doesn't become monotonous and people reading you don't be like, wow, this is just awful. Um, yeah, I think I already explained choose better words. Uh, hmm. So at the end, you have to revise with purpose. Like people think that revising something you've read is just like the final step of like looking out for punctuation errors or spelling errors and stuff like that. But that's not the case. It's like constantly still thinking of ways on how you can make things better. Is oh, can I like simplify this word? Can I make this sentence shorter? Can I make these two sentences flow better into each other? So it's like that's why I say like revise with purpose. Like it's not just the final proofreading step, it's where like great content is actually made. Like for example, you just don't write your first draft and be like, well, that's it. That's it. This looks fine to me. Like when you read it again, you see things to change. Yeah. So that's the entire point of revising with purpose. Um, there are four areas of revision that um, I like to think of like revision in these four stages. It's like word choice. Like, is this the best word I could have used for this thing that I'm trying to explain? There is flow. just figuring out if like your sentences flow well into each other, if this particular sentence isn't just like super clunky. There is voice. Figuring out that your voice is consistent throughout the piece and not each just getting to one point where it no longer sounds like you or it sounds like someone else. Um, there's also momentum. Does this keep does this sentence keep the story moving, or does it like just make it grind to a halt in a way that is jarring and can take people out of the fantasy? Um, yeah, it's just these four things: word choice, flow, voice, and momentum. So before you publish, there are just four things that you have to think about. Uh, does it sound natural? Because it has to sound natural. People don't want to read stuff that sounds like it came from like an LLM. Does it flow properly? Does it elicit the intended emotion? And does every single sentence earn its place? Again, you don't want fluff around like this super cool thing that you've written because, I mean, fluff is nice sometimes, depends on what you're writing. If you're writing fiction, I guess. But a lot of the times you don't want fluff because it's just fluff. Like you don't want it. Um, so it's these four things you have to remember. Make sure it sounds natural. Make sure it flows well. Make sure it elicits the intended emotion. This one is super important because it's just be awful if you make something that you mean to like be emotional and sad and everybody laughs at it and you don't know why they're laughing at it. So now everybody is just confused, your audience intended. But yeah, it's to sound natural, make it flow well, elicit the intended emotion, and make sure that every sentence earns its place. Um, so yeah, in summary, the three pillars, the story is figuring out what, the structure is figuring out how, and polish is figuring out how to make the experience best for the reader. And if you master all these three, then you will always create memorable content. And that's the end of my TED talk. I've always wanted to say that. But yeah,
Come on,
thanks,
round of
guys.
applause for our speaker today. Not a TED talk, actually, a full talk. So, come on, round of applause. Thank you so much, Mr. George. Or Grandpaddy. I like Grandpaddy, so I'll stick to Grandpaddy. Thank you
Okay,
so much. So, we're taking 4 questions today, just 4 questions. So, if
okay,
you have a question, you know the drill. Unmute your mic. Let's see your face and answer questions. Please, just 4 questions, please. We need 4 questions and we're done for it. But thank you so much. So my take home, because I was writing a whole lot, and you said so much about clarity, making our words simpler. There's one thing I think I got today from your message was no matter what you do as a creative, as a creator, or as a writer, basically, be very simple with your word because passing your message is very important. So don't it's not something you should sit back on or see as normal because passing your message is very important. That's what people take, and people will not just see it as any other message or what any other video they're watching or something they're saying. So please, over to our family members in the house, please, if you have questions, mute your mics. Let's see your face and please ask your questions. Anybody? Do we have questions? Oh, please, yes. Unmute your mic and ask your questions.
Uh,
Just one question. So, Mustafa, just one question. Just one question. Unmute your mic, please. Let's see your face.
Good evening. Thank you very much. Sorry,
Good
I'm currently
evening.
outside, so that's why I want to appreciate the um, lecturer. I want to call him that because you know, this is like a course in the university, and I stayed to the end. Now, my question is almost not necessarily related, but it's still related, and it is about I want to ask, what role does consuming of content, like what is the role of the content that we consume plays in the content that we produce or in what we write? So, like, what role does it, um, what part does it play in the kind of
You got this question, sir?
sorry.
You got this question?
I think I'm from what I'm getting is like he says, what's the role of the content you consume and the kind of content you eventually
Yeah,
make?
you produce, yes.
Okay. But if he's still talking, it looks like it's frozen.
So, Mustafa, you can mute your mic. He got your question. I think your network is acting up, my love. Irene, after this, you're going to answer your question. Please, yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Mr.
this is
George.
just again.
Grandpa, over
Yeah,
to you.
the content we consume is very important to the kind of content we end up making because it influences your voice, it influences your interests, like whether you like it or not. It's why they say that like the best way to improve your writing is to read. Like read a lot of stuff. Read even stuff that you think is bad sometimes because even though like it's bad, at least now you know what not to do when you're writing.
Yeah.
And along the way, you figure out stuff I like. A lot of like the movies and cartoons that I consumed growing up eventually fed into the way my humor works, which I think is great because I like to tell myself that I spent most of my childhood in front of the TV and it just like landed me a job in adulthood. So yeah, I consumed a lot of like cartoons and comedy content growing up, and it just kind of fed into what I do now. It's an unconscious thing. It will always influence what you are drawn to. It will always influence what comes naturally to you. Like I know I referred to myself earlier as a comedy writer, but like it's not all I do. It's not all I've done. Like I do other things. But I will
Okay.
say that like writing comedy comes easy to me. Like it's the easiest thing in the world. The others, and I have to like settle myself and be oh shit, this is serious. But when it comes to this, it's just yeah, and it's because of the interest I had growing up. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, Mustafa.
Thank you so much, sir. Does that answer your question, Mustafa?
Yes, it does. It
Thank
does.
you so much. Thank you so much. Irene, over to you. Please be quick so that we can let Mr. George go and rest. Irene, are you here? Are you here, Irene? So, since nobody has a question, I have something. You talked about how you've been in Zucoma for a while, Zukoko rather, and how it has influenced you. You didn't even know where you start or enter inside. You just woke up and you saw yourself there. And obviously, you've been productive. Okay, Irene is here. So, over to you, Irene. Irene, your network, are you here? Can you hear us? You could do that without, muting. Sorry, opening your us, we see you on video rather. If you can speak clearly without, it's fine. Can you hear us?
Or you can type your question in the comments.
I
That's
just
fine
type your
too.
question, yeah, so that I can read it for Mr. George. Is that fine? Irene? Oh my God, network. Okay, so Mr. George, my question before Irene comes back up, what is it like finding your voice as a writer inside a brand that has a strong identity? Because we know Zikoko has a very strong identity, in the creative space. How was it like finding your voice?
Um, I I would say that it was difficult, even though Zikoko already like has. So Zikoko started off with a purely comedic voice early on in 2015, 2016. Over
Yeah.
time, it kind of like became something else, like what it is now. Like it has like a more serious tone to it. But back in the day, it was like more comedic, and I would say that like even with that, it was still hard because like then people the articles were structured in a particular way. They were listicles, so there was very little text and then an image. That was the structure, like five
Mm,
words and an image. So when I came along, I wanted to write. I wanted to make jokes, but I also wanted to write. So when I would write like blocks of text, people would be like, "Who the hell is this? And why is he making us read?" And I'm like, "My God, you guys, it's just like three extra lines." So it was. I just kept at it. Like I saw people complain in the comments and be all, "Oh, who the hell is this? And why are they trying to make us read?" But to be honest, my mind I was like, "You people will be fine. You will learn to read
yeah.
by force." And eventually, it just worked out. I think that it's keeping at it regardless of what people say. People will complain, uh, but it's just continuing to sharpen your voice and make sure that you improve, so that at the end of the day, nobody can tell you anything because you sabi the work.
So, and lastly, sis, Irene, are you back here? And do we have more questions? Because we need just one more question to end this live. Family members, are you here? So since nobody has a question, because me, I wrote a whole lot of questions while you were talking. My last question to you before I let you go. For creators here, because many of us are writers, presenters, a whole bunch of us together here. And we're just trying to do better, grow. And this series has really taught us consistency, trying to just up our game, and I think one of our speakers came in, I think 2 weeks ago, and he said something that struck me very well. No matter how slow it is, process-wise, keep doing it. Whether it makes sense, it doesn't make sense. And now you came with structure, polish, and story today. Meaning, even if you have the whole story and it doesn't really make sense at times, your audience is not going to like it. So in all of that, make your message simpler. So my question to you, sir, for creators trying to be the voice online, what's one thing you tell them to stop doing and start doing? You
We're
got my
just trying
question.
to be the best.
For creators trying to build online, a voice online, for creators trying to do better online, what's one thing you tell them to stop doing and start doing?
I would tell them to. I know everybody says this, but like consistency is really important. Like creating online is hard. Like almost everybody is doing it. So like I would say the market is saturated. So it's like it requires consistency and breaking through and finding an audience. But I would also say that like refining your own voice. Most people want to
Mm,
sound like other people. It's why you come online and you see so many people like mimicking the influencer voice, for example, and it's like, hey guys, welcome to my YouTube video. And it's like, it's because they try to sound like other successful people. Like, it's really
yeah.
important to, if you have something unique, it's best to keep it, to be honest, as long as it's not like offensive or anything. It's best to keep at it. And I assure you, and I know this sounds very cliche. It sounds like the kind of thing Lady Gaga would say when it says like it gets better. But like the thing that makes you stand out the most is the thing that gets you noticed because it really is what happened for me. People had always told me that my sense of humor was kind of like off kilter. Somebody actually said off kilter to me, and I took it as an insult back then. But
Okay.
it's what gets me, yeah, but it's what gets me paid now. So I really can't complain. Yeah. So it's just
Actually,
two things. So it's just two things. It's being consistent and being unique. Don't try
mm,
to become someone else because that person is already them. Like there's only one you. Again, I feel like I'm being cliche, but you get my point. Yeah.
it's not cliche. There's only one Hawa, so be yourself. There's only one Mr. George,
Exactly.
Grandpaddy, be yourself. There's only one Mrs. Informer, be yourself. Thank you so much. So Irene has dropped a question. So Irene, to you. My question is, how possible is it to make your story shorter, especially when you have so much message to pass on? Now she's saying this because she said, I'm a life coach. For example, there's a lot of message to pass on. How do I make it short? Do you understand, sir? Yeah, so that's a question.
In terms of being a life coach, I would say that's different because so again, I was talking about it from the POV of like telling a story, like telling an entertaining story. So if I'm telling you like about the plot of the movie, there's stuff I can afford to leave out because like ultimately it's not a life or death situation. But I like to think that like being a life coach is a life or death situation. Like if you're advising someone on how to like run their life, you have to give them all the information that you can. So
Mm,
I don't think it's possible to take out information, but I think it's possible to like make it more concise. Like there are ways to like take long sentences and just make them shorter in ways that they don't lose their information. They are just shorter. So I would advise that that's like a thing to do. I know that it doesn't come easy to everybody, but like it's a thing that you have to keep doing over and over again. You have to keep paying attention to. Like when I write, for example, like just my first draft is just like a lot of words, and then I go through it and then just start making sentences shorter without trying to lose um the essence, the real essence of what I'm saying. I used to have like what's the name of this? I used to have Grammarly do this, but I realized that in that aspect, my brain was becoming atrophied, and I was like outsourcing my skills to something else. So I had to let it go and keep doing it by myself, which is just super annoying. But like, at least you retain your skill. So yeah, I would say that it's not to remove content in your case or remove things. It's just to make things more concise. but have them still pass along the same message.
To make it concise and at the end of the day still pass a message. So that it brings us to make it simple at the end of the day. Like you said
Yeah.
earlier, so you we had our answer at the beginning of our class. So Irene, that's for
Yeah.
you. So Mrs. Ifama, are you here? So that she'll say hi to us before we go. Hi Mama, are you in the room?
Yes, I am. Hi,
Hey
Ash.
Mama, welcome. Come on, let's give her a shout out. Oh yeah, now let's put all a welcome,
Good
welcome, welcome.
evening.
I'm so good to have you. Your sticker
Hi,
should be
Let's
everywhere
go.
right now.
Astor. Good evening. So, if you
Hi,
guys
good
don't know, I'm
evening.
such a huge fan of Astor. Like, I look forward to his content like every time. Anytime I see it, I just smile. Like, thank you for helping me summarize this P square gist. Thank you so much because I've been looking forward to summarize it. God bless you.
You're welcome. Even though I had to watch like 8 videos that were 20 minutes long, but hey, that it's the work that the work we did do. We had this things.
Thank you so much. Astor is so talented, right? Like and Astor. I just sent Astor a DM on Instagram. I'm like, please come and teach. He did not even argue. He just said, okay, no, and he did not even tell me he had cacao. He did not tell me he had a cold. He just agreed. Like you people, if are meant to be clapping, thank you very much, Olume, because he didn't even tell me he wasn't feeling well, to be very honest. It was just now that he said he had a cold. I'm like, share you for tell me I will move the class highest. But thank you so, so much. I will still say it, I'm one of your biggest fans. Just know, if you see your
Thank
video
you.
trending, now me do one at the
Oh,
share is me.
you guys
Thank
are blushing. Oh my god.
Thank you. You're so good. When I sent your page to my community manager, and she went to your page, she came back. She was like, "This guy is a genius. Have you seen his portfolio?" That's what she said. She was like, "Have you seen his portfolio? Like, he's a genius." So, and I hope you never forget this. You're so good at what you do. Thank you for giving my community the opportunity to learn from you, to hear from you. I told you now, I'm inviting you for Creators Parts next year. So please,
So thank you.
yes. I've done a Mebona and I've told them one of the speakers. So thank you so, so much. Hawa is on this call, Astor. Hawa joined this call. When I told her Astor is calling, she joined. Hawa is here.
Oh,
She's still here.
She's still here. She has been here from the beginning. Hawa talk now.
She opened her camera when we
Hi,
started.
Star. It's so
Hi,
good
So let's
to
see your
hear
face.
from
Let's see your face.
you. I'm one of your biggest fans. Oh my god! Right from the horror story days, my favorite story was the Bush baby story. It was fantastic. Thank you for all that you do. Thank
thank you.
you.
Our
Thank you
plan is
so
to
much.
and I hope you did that. So thank you. Thank you very much, Astor. Thank you so much, Favor. You killed it. Well done. Thank
Thank you,
you. Thank
Mama.
you, guys. Thank you so much, Astor. Thank you. That will still come to your DM and still say thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. We
All
Thank
learned
you
right.
a
so
lot.
much.
We learned a whole lot. Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much, Mr. Astor. Bye. Thank you so much. We're really grateful for giving us your time in the whole, your season of your cough and cold, but you didn't let it hold you back. I am grateful, sir. We're grateful. Whoa. Thank you so much. We're really grateful. Have a wonderful rest, and thank you so much. We're grateful. Bye, guys. Can you
All
tell
right.
Mr. Astor bye, Grandpatty? Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so
Bye.
much. Keep giving more wonderful stories, and we are sitting back and ready to receive all the juice.
I promise not to stop. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. I love it. Bye, guys. Bye, sir. Thank you so much, family members. Thank you so, so much for joining today. Till our next class next week, Friday. Bye. I am your man, Favor Chaba. Bye, guys. Yeah.